On our spreadsheets, we're going to look at how to actually take some of our spreadsheets and create new sheets and rename them. We didn't get to that in lesson 2. So I have this first sheet. This is sheet 1. I'm going to rename it. So I'm simply clicking here on the triangle next to sheet 1, and I'm going to rename this sheet. And I'm going to call this lesson 1. Okay. Now I want to have more sheets, but I'd like them to basically maintain this formatting. So I click here and I duplicate. And now notice I have lesson 1 and copy of lesson 1. So I'm going to rename this sheet to lesson 2. Okay. And I want to make another sheet, and I'll duplicate lesson 2 and I'll rename it, and this becomes lesson 3. Now in our assessment spreadsheet, all of these things we're doing are things you're going to need to know how to do. So I have lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. They're actually all identical. In lesson 2, I want to now show you some things. We've done some conditional formatting here. I want to show you how to join data together. So let's say in this cell I have, we'll just use D. I'm going to put a first name, John, and I'm going to put a last name, Lewis. Okay. Now I want in F, I want John Lewis to become an email address. I don't want to have to type it out. I want the computer to do that via a formula. Whenever you type formulas, you have to get up in the formula bar and you have to type begin with the equal sign. Now what I know I want to do here is a couple of different spreadsheet functions and formulas. I want my email address to be lowercase, so one of my first functions is going to be lower, okay? And as I start typing that function out, it tells me, okay, lower, here's the command, and then the text is inside that. So you have to put it inside of these parentheses. Now what I want to be lowercase is the contents of D1. And, that's the ampersand symbol, I want to add a dot. And whenever you put other text inside of here that's not actually a cell, I have to use quotation marks around that. So it's quotation mark dot quotation mark and Lewis, right? And quotation mark at legrandsd.org. Now the reason I'm doing that is that's going to build an email address. Let's look at this real quickly here. If I were to do that, I can see that it's equal to lowercase d1 and a dot and e1 and at legrandsd.org. Okay, that's what it would look like. Now when I hit enter on that, there's John Lewis at legrandsd.org. Now let me put in another name here, Herman Johnson, Johnsson, okay? And let's do another kid, Susie Smith. Okay, and that's enough to show you what I want to show here. Now notice this formula. If I grab the tool here that is the crosshairs and drag that down, notice it automatically is creating those email addresses out of the first and last name along with what I happen to know is the naming convention in my domain to name for an email address. That allows me to just get a first and last name group of kids out of my student information system and then turn it into email addresses, which allows me to do some other interesting things. Now, one of the functions that you sometimes need to do with a spreadsheet, this is sort of a little bit of an advanced feature, but notice this says in the formula bar, that says John, and that says Lewis, that's the contents of the cell, but this content is this formula. And sometimes when you're working, you want to build this out of this formula, but you don't want to use the formula for other reasons. So there's a little feature in spreadsheets where I can select this content, I can right-click and copy that, and then I can right-click and I can paste special, paste values only. And when I do that, notice now, this is no longer a formula. It's John Lewis, it's Herman Johnson, and it's Susie Smith at legrandsd.org. And that might be a function I would need to use for certain procedures where I can't have the formula.